If you've ever watched one of my videos and noticed there are two boats in here, mine is backed in, my dad's is pulled in straight. So if you've wondered how we've done that, I should have taken more video while we were doing it, but basically all we do is put this on Go Jacks, pull it this way with that winch that I use to lift up the trailer when it's stored. Faithful, trusty golf cart with a tow strap, we pull it back and it just rolls right out. What you doing? One of the bunks on his trailer is messed up also. The same tow strap that we used to drag it out around the arms of the lift, back the boat under it, and then raise the lift a little bit to like lift the boat up and then fix the bunk. Guess we'll see. Safety thing on this side.
Yeah, there we go. It's lifted. A little more, a little more. That should do it.
I would say that there's a lot of sketchy things that we've done, but this is certainly on the higher end of the... What I really like
the
is...
good news is that if it falls down, it could only fall onto the bunker again instead of onto my head, so that's a plus.
Well, so if we're keeping score, right now we have the potential to total your boat and total the yellow car and break the lift. So, so go up some more, or is it?
Yeah, it appears that I think if you go up like another inch, we should be able to...
Come out from under there while we're raising.
You're no fun.
This is something. My heart is pounding right now.
A little more.
Oh yeah, that moved it a lot. We're off. This is what I would call a momentous occasion. So I have the front cross member and lower control arms, knuckles, everything is on this thing ready to bolt into the car. So since my dad's here, that's what we're gonna try to do. Really, I just need his help to get this up there. I'll still, you know, have to shimmy and figure it out and that kind of stuff. I think we're ready to lift it up onto that. I'm gonna bring that jack thing forward and we'll go from there. Oh yeah, that's way easier. I would say let's go straight onto it. Go back a little. Okay, perfect. You got it? Mm-hmm. So this, see how this slant thing lines up with the slant in the frame?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna lower the car just a little bit. Is that getting too close to anything?
Nope, not yet.
Slide this back.
Can I hold on to it when we go around this side?
Okay.
Got it?
Yep. All right, towards you. Oh yeah, that's up there.
Okay, the ground strap is in here, so I can't lift it.
Oh.
Hang on. Let's see if I can. There we go. Okay, I got it.
All right, that's a little better. All right, so this is the front bolt.
Okay, I'm hitting the header on this side, but I think that's okay.
I'm gonna see if I can.
Hopefully the bolts will line up.
Yeah, we're way far over. All right, so about halfway in, I've got the bolts in on this side. We're looking good here. I took the header off here. Obviously you can see this whole thing has to shift over and up a little bit to get the motor mount in, but that's all right. Same thing on this side, so we're getting closer. Where we're running into a little bit of trouble, again, with these Doug's headers, is that we're just about to hit the cross member on the header. So my fear or my issue is that the suspension has to come back because I need this bolt hole to line up with that threaded spot. And this part has to line up with that. So the whole thing has to come back. I think I'm just gonna go up to the top and take the header off. It's bizarre that they would fit with the stock crossmember and not the aftermarket. Driver side header is out. That should make getting this crossmember up there a little bit simpler. Famous last words. All right, so this has got to go back a little bit. I wonder if I lower it, if it makes it easier. I mean,
so I think it's caught on the engine, the motor mount.
Oh, so maybe push it up.
Yeah, there you go.
It needs to go
Needs to go
this
over.
way.
What follows is a brief construction montage.
Can't tell if that's doing anything or not. Oh yeah, it's definitely getting closer. So what's weird here is if you look at this side, there's a ridge, right? So this has to go this way, because if you look at this side, you can see it's sticking out. Just don't know how to get it. I guess if we push this side this way, it'll pull this side forward, and that should get us, no? I don't know. Wonder how close we are on this. About 74 hours, tired. We have this in and it looks close, but the problem is if you look on this side, the front of this is out, right? You can see it right there. Now the back is in by the same amount. Okay, so the whole thing needs to shift. I go to this side, it's in by a lot, and at the back, it's in by a little bit less, but still in. Now, the thing that's weird is there's 4 bolts loose on it. Like, all of them you can see, it's not even touching the car. I can't move this. If I jerk around, it moves the whole car. It doesn't move the crossmember at all. So I'm not quite sure. Obviously I know I need to like tilt it and rotate it over, but it's just not moving. Also, these are in, but the bolts are loose. Look at how easy that motor mount bolt is now. I can take it out and push it back in. It was so hard earlier. Oh yeah, so we have the motor mount bolts in, but I don't have the motor mounts bolted to the block, and I can move the engine like easily. So it's definitely not hung up on the motor at all. It's the way it's fitting into the car that I gotta figure out. On the bright side, since I do have 4 bolts in it, when I get the brakes, I can put the upper control arms in, the coilovers in, put the wheels on and roll the car around, so that's something. Our fear is that the car might actually be bent, and that's why it's not lining up on this side. So what I'm gonna do is go and do a lot of searching online at pictures of this crossmember installed on other Hornets to see how it fits up flush against that frame rail, because I mean it seems like it should be there, right? Like the amount that it's off by the same amount in inverse in the opposite corners. So you would think that that would mean that it just needs to get lined up. I've whacked it with a hammer. I've done everything I can think of to get this thing to move, and it just won't do it. Gonna sleep on it, come back and figure it out another day, because usually when a project is kicking ass, if I come back later, it just falls together. So fingers crossed that that's what happens here.
4 to 6 days later.
It's a few days later, and what I did, I stepped back. I really thought a lot about why I couldn't get this thing to line up, and I realized that I started with the back bolts on the other side and worked my way forward, which kind of locked it into place on this side, and I could only get one of the bolts, or kind of 2 of the bolts in here. So I was thinking like, okay, I'm gonna step back. Another thing that was weird was that on the other side, in here, there was a bolt like threaded down, and I couldn't figure out why it was different from side to side. So I came here the other day and I started messing around with it. What I realized is that there was like a threaded stud that held the old cross member in. It looked like this. And the second part is the reason why I couldn't get the center bolts in is because the ones that came in the kit are the wrong thread. So like these are coarse thread, and the one that's in like the nut or whatever inside the chassis is fine thread. So I took all of the bolts out, lowered it down a little bit, played around with it, and realized that I should be able to get this to bolt straight back up. All I had to do was get the right size bolts. So I'm gonna start with putting the center bolts in on each side, then I can see how much I can shift it around. And then I also got just this little like drill file thing, because I think I do need to enlarge one of these holes just a little bit so that I can get the bolt to thread in straight. That's what my buddy Wendell suggested as well. I think he might have had to do that on his car. So I don't know that I still think the car is bent. I think it's just a 1973 AMC, and the quality control on these things was probably not awesome from the factory. So I'm gonna get these bolts in real quick, see how it lines up, mark what I need to, and hopefully get this part of this project done. Goal for today is to get cross member in, upper control arms in, coilovers in, and steering rack in. I got the steering rack right here. So shouldn't be that, I'm not even gonna say it out loud. Let's just get to work here.
1 hour later.
Honestly, I don't know what to do with this. I'm really deflated and frustrated. So can't tell if the car is the problem or...
2 hours later.
All right, guys, I think I've got it. So I ended up grinding out this hole a little bit and the same hole on the other side, and just slowly raising it up, lowering it down, raising it up, lowering it down to see how it fits. And I've got it pretty close. So sticks out just a little bit here, sticks in just a little bit back there, sticks in a little bit here, sticks flush right about there. I think this is about as good as it's gonna get. It still hits the oil pan, which is delightful, but that's a different problem for a different day. So I think I can tighten up these bolts, and actually first I'm gonna lower it down, put the motor mount brackets on the motor so that hopefully that, oh gosh, that might become a nightmare too. I don't know, I'll work on that and check back in a minute, but I'm making progress. I at least have the cross member fit into the car and all of the bolts line up with the bolt holes. So that doesn't sound like a lot. It feels pretty triumphant right now.
Eventually.
Cross member is in. These 3 motor mount bolts are in. I gotta lower the motor down. 2 of these 3 are in. It's like kind of angled. So once I start to lower the engine down, I can get the motor mount bolts in each side. And then this part of this project is done. Put the control arms in, coilovers in. For a minute, I was feeling pretty defeated on this. It definitely is not lined up how I would like it. But what I'm going on is, if the car is bent, doesn't matter, because all of the suspension mounts to here except for the upper control arms, and everything is so adjustable that all I'm going for is this part right here is the same distance as right there. So if the frame rail forward of the suspension is bent this way or that way, it doesn't really matter, because again, nothing connects to it. It's just there. So it looks silly, but I should still be able to get the car aligned and like everything straight. That's what I'm going on. So this thing is bolted in the way it should be. I'm fired up. It looks cool.
1 pathetic sob story later.
I don't know if you can see it, got this motor mount bolt in and all 3 bolts on that side. This side is proving to be a little bit of a problem. It's not even close to lined up, but I do feel like I can wiggle and jiggle and get it. Oh man, it's so close. Cross members in, motor mounts are in. Like 7 of the 8 bolts in the motor mount are in. This kind of makes my OCD crazy that this bolt goes this way and this bolt comes this way, but this one is really there. I have to get, those evened up. So hopefully that back bolt will just hand thread in and I don't have to dick around with it, but this is awesome. So I can get the cross brace thing off up top. That will allow me to finish up or start working on the wiring and fuel injection and stuff. So maybe we will make it to Power Tour. Knock on wood. I find that when I record, I'm way slower. So I'm just gonna keep cranking stuff out and give you short updates in the middle here. Oh, baby. We have made progress. So I have control arms in, coilovers in, everything is bolted. I haven't torqued anything down yet. I just have to now start. I got to get this thing off, and then I can work on getting the steering rack in, and then this stuff is pretty close to ready. The only parts that I don't have right now are the Willwood front brakes, so I won't be able to bolt the front wheels back on the car, which is a little bit of a bummer. I just got the rear brakes kind of like unannounced. They just showed up this week, so hopefully that means the fronts are soon to follow. I don't know. I have the master cylinder, so I can get that in, but I didn't want to put the master cylinder in until I had everything else kind of figured out, because it's in the way when I'm messing around with the suspension stuff. So I have no idea what the adjustment on the upper control arms is, so I just kind of did it halfway. And the car's got to get in alignment anyway, so that'll all get figured out, but feeling pretty good. I was super deflated earlier, but now I feel pretty stoked about it. It looks just beautiful, right? Like, look at that. So we have all the adjustability in the world. It feels good to make some like tangible progress on it. I'm still not stoked with how this came out. They were also supposed to send me a frame rail cover or something, and they didn't, so whatever, not a big deal. I do have to put the top bolts into. I just didn't feel like climbing over and doing it. But yeah, I'm making progress. Got some more fit issues, maybe? I don't know if issues is the right word. It just seems like, despite the fact that it's advertised as like working with stock stuff, it doesn't. So the crossmember hits the oil pan really aggressively, and the steering rack hits the oil pan really aggressively. Now, the steering rack has eccentric bushings, so I can adjust them to put it down further, but the instructions say if you have manual steering to do it that way, and if you have power steering to do it the way I have. The way I have makes it hit the oil pan, so not really sure. The photo in the instructions of the steering rack looks nothing like the one that I have, so I think I'm just gonna mess with the bushings to get the thing to fit. It's a little bit frustrating because I'm thinking I probably need to change this oil pan now too, so I don't know. I guess that's what you get when working on old cars, because everything is a little bit different and nothing is standard, and obviously this has a 390 engine out of a AMX, but in reality, like 360, 390, all of the AMC V8s are the same, so that shouldn't be my issue. I don't know, but yeah, like the steering rack is definite. Well, first of all, it's not bolted in. There's a spacer that goes there that I don't have in right now. You can see it on this side, but when I push it up into place, it won't go into place because it hits the oil pan. Gonna call it a day today. I made amazing, incredible progress. Like, I can start messing with the steering, you know, to try to get that sort of straight. So at least the wheels are pointed in the right direction and get it ready for when the brakes arrive. I've got some shims to put in for the upper control arms. I just haven't messed with those a whole lot yet because I don't know the ins and outs or whatever, the adjustment where it should be, so I didn't want to put too much stuff in and then have it be in my way. So I left those out, but I have all the shims to put in. The next bit of work that I need to do for the steering setup is I got to get this out of there so I can put in the new steering shaft thing. Another weird thing is that the kit's supposed to have 2 of these things and they only sent me 1, so I just have to connect with Al on Monday and figure out where my brakes are, what missing parts I have. I didn't do like an inventory when it came because everything was so nicely packaged and like beautifully organized, but I'm regretting that now because as I'm going through, I'm like, these bolts are the wrong size, or I'm missing one of the steering joints, that kind of stuff. So hopefully they get me the stuff I need so I can do this and don't have to spend money to buy parts I should have gotten from the beginning. I'm just being overly negative right now. I also need to order new power steering lines because these ones are crusty looking, so I'm gonna do that. But yeah, I'm gonna head home and go see what the family's doing.